Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I am your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. Well, more and more people are beginning to realize that President Barack Obama is a key person in end times Bible prophecy. And I have been saying that for 7 years here on YouTube. YouTube has only been in existence for 10 years. So I've been here a majority of that time. And I promised you ahead of his election that number one, he would be our last American president. Number two, he would be a man of war, not a man of peace, despite what he said about Iraq and Afghanistan. All he has done in the Middle East is brought more war and chaos, death and casualties. And third, that he would lead America to defeat in World War III. And I have not backed off on any of those prophecies. And Almighty God has been verifying these prophecies, especially in sporting events. Maybe you remember when the American flag fell, when Serena Williams won the gold medal at the U.S. Olympics. And she wore one black sneaker and one white sneaker. And the reason is because she was a stand-in for the leopard, that is Barack Obama. Or maybe you remember this race in Zurich, Switzerland, which was won by the two American girls, Jennifer Simpson and Jessica Mowbray. They finished in a virtual dead heat, and they both fell at the finish line. One girl's number was 9 and the other was 11. As Jonathan Cahn would say, that was a harbinger of the defeat of America and the fall of our nation. Just as 9/11 was a harbinger of the fall of America. Now, the latest verification from Almighty God of my prophecies about Barack Obama was the victory of American Pharoah in the Triple Crown. Now, I made a video 3 weeks ago saying that if he lost the second leg of the Triple Crown, that is the Preakness, it would symbolize that Obama would not finish his second term. But American Pharoah won the Preakness, and he also won the third race of the Triple Crown. And I believe that means that Obama will be given a third term, or perhaps I should say he will take a third term. One thing for sure, he will not be elected to a third term. And now my subscribers came up with a lot of very interesting comments. Now here's what Alphil08 said. Now this was 3 weeks ago, before the Belmont. The Preakness is symbolic of Obama's second term. He will win the Belmont, symbolizing Obama's third term, as he has no intention of leaving office. Well, congratulations, Upphil. Your prophecy was 100% accurate. And U.S. Flag Weaver responded, this was over a week ago, if American Pharoah wins the Belmont, we may as well crawl in a hole and pull it in over us. Well, it's not that bad, because when he won the Belmont, he wore number 5. And that symbolizes Mary's defeat of Satan. And here's Alphil's follow-up comment. I told you American Pharoah would win. Prophecy that Obama gets a third term. And he added a little later, the winner was number 5, and the second place horse was number 6. So 5 over 6, Mary over Satan, more fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Well, thank you very much, Phil. I may pass my co-prophet mantle on to you after I am departed. I'm 76. That may be sooner than you think. And now Grey Wolf added a very interesting comment. American Pharoah is a horse owned by an Egyptian. I think his name is Ahmed Zayat, excuse me. And it was ridden by Victor Espinoza. And the jockey always wears a cap with a big letter Z on the top, if you notice it, and that stands for Ahmed Zayat. American Pharoah then won the Preakness wearing number 1 and crossed the finish line at exactly 6:23. Very interesting. And 23, or 2 over 3, represents the fraction 2/3, and the decimal is .666, as I have mentioned many times on this program. Yes, there is a photo online of American Pharoah crossing the finish line at the Preakness with a huge clock in the picture, reflecting the time as 6:23. Very interesting image of the clock, and it's very obvious that it is 6:23. And if we look even closer, it's obvious, it's huge, that clock reading 6:23 exactly. Now in the Kentucky Derby, Victor Espinoza wore the number 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6. The second race, the Preakness, finished at exactly 6:23. And in the third race, he wore the number 5. So I think this numerology is pretty obvious. It is not accidental. Almighty God used this Triple Crown not only to verify Bible prophecy, but also to verify biblical numerology. And now here's an interesting comment from Coco Prophet. He says, I was wondering about the misspelling in the horse's name. Perhaps the switching of O before A is not just an accident. I agree 100%, Coco Prophet. But instead a mockery or a claim relating to the Alpha and Omega in Revelation 1:8. Well, I'm not sure about Revelation 1:8, but I do believe it's very significant. First of all, the O before the A is the reverse of the order in the Greek alphabet. The Omega is the last letter. It signifies the end times. Also, putting the O before the A emphasizes that the horse represents Obama, the big O, in other words. And the O before the A represents that Obama is leading America in a backwards direction. And I also believe the changing of the name of the horse is also indicative of Obama because he changed his name. And lastly, I want to comment on a very interesting letter I received from one of my regular contributors, and that would be April. And she noted that the letter Z, which Victor Espinoza wears on his racing cap, of course that stands for the owner, Ahmed Zayed. She says it also represents the Hebrew letter Aleph. And Aleph is an extremely interesting letter because it symbolizes God over man. Just the opposite of the Antichrist's fraction 2/3, or man over God. And you can see it very clearly when Espinoza tilts his cap. You can see that is definitely the Hebrew letter Aleph. And now I'd like to play a short clip from Rabbi Abraham Krugman as he explains what this Hebrew letter indicates.
As you can see, it is constructed from a yud above, a yud below, and a slanted vav simultaneously connecting and separating it. In this picture of the Aleph, God represents the upper yud, man represents the lower yud, and the slanting vav represents the Torah that is connecting us together.
Now I will put a link below to Rabbi Krugman's very interesting video on the Hebrew letter Aleph. In fact, he did a whole series, and I recommend them very highly. And for you, my subscribers, I don't want to imply that I have fully understood this Triple Crown prophecy. For example, the second and third horses in the Belmont were called Keen Ice and Frosted, and there must be some significance to that. It's possible that they represent Russia, as one of my subscribers suggested. However, that would mean that Obama defeats Russia, and that is just the opposite of Bible prophecy. And in conclusion, I believe it's pretty obvious that Almighty God has used this Triple Crown to give an end times prophecy about Barack Obama and the United States. Now, what could happen for Obama to get a third term? Well, as far as I can see, nuclear war is the answer. After such a exchange of nuclear weapons, the American people won't care who is the president. They will be trying to survive. And Obama will, according to Bible prophecy, be our last president before the Antichrist takes over. He is the third beast in Daniel chapter number 7, just before the fourth and final beast. Even though he is defeated by the last king of the north in Daniel 11, he still remains on the scene, even though he loses his power, according to prophecy. Even though in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 44, he is filled with fear when he loses World War III, he will remain in power as one of the 10 kings of the Antichrist. And if you would like more information about my ministry here on YouTube, visit my thirdeaglemedia.com website.